Shabbat shalom, everyone. If you will turn in your Siddur, and we have a bunch of visitors here from Pikes Peak State College with us, so maybe if I say some words that are in Hebrew, I'll translate them for you, I guess, a little bit. Siddur is the Hebrew word for prayer book, so if you take your prayer book and turn to page 128. Yeah. Right in the middle of the page, we begin with a few songs to bring us into the spirit of Shabbat. Yedid nefesh av harachaman, Yedid nefesh av harachaman, mishochav el ritzonecha, mishochav la 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 el ritzonecha, yarutz avdecha kemo ayam, yishtachavei la 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 el mul hadarecha, yedid nefesh av harachaman, yedid nefesh av harachaman, mishochav el ritzonecha, mishochav la 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 el ritzonecha, yarutz avdecha kemo ayam, yishtachavei la 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 el mul hadarecha. At the top of that page, you'll see some words that say, Hine matovu manayim shevet achim gam yachad. How good and wonderful it is that all of us are sitting here together. It comes from Psalm 133. As we come into bringing Shabbat, there's a concept that says that we bring in Shabbat like a bride coming into a wedding. And so as we bring Shabbat in to see us, we go through a section called Kabbalat Shabbat, or receiving the Shabbat. We begin with singing to bring joy into our Shabbat. How good and wonderful it is that all of us are sitting here together. Hine matov umanayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov umanayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov umanayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov umanayim shevet achim gam yachad. If you turn back in your book to page 120, you will find the blessings for lighting our Shabbat candles. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Praised are you, Adonai our God, ruler of the universe, who makes us holy with your commandments and commands us to kindle the lights of Shabbat. Page 130. We come into our Kabbalat Shabbat as we say goodbye to the week and say hello to Shabbat. We use Psalms from the book of Psalms to move us out of the busyness and the difficulties or all of the tasks that we have to complete during the week into a time of just being at rest and at peace. We use these Psalms of praises to God, beginning with Psalm 95 on page 130. Lechu ner anina, lechu ner anina, lechu ner anina al Adonai. Lechu ner anina, lechu ner anina, lechu ner anina al Adonai. Naria, naria, letzur yishenu, lekadma fanav b'toda. Naria, naria, letzur yishenu, bizmirot nerialo. Lechu ner anina, lechu ner anina, lechu ner anina al Adonai. Lechu ner anina, lechu ner anina, lechu ner anina al Adonai. Psalm 96 begins on page 131. And in this psalm, I'm going to change my batteries here because the people at home can't hear me. Psalm 96 says, sing to God a new song. All the earth will sing to God a new song. And we'll sing a new song. All righty, there we go. Shirul Adonai, Shir Chadash, the first words on page 131. Sing to God a new song. Shirul Adonai kol haaretz, let all the earth sing to God a new song. The words, if you'd like to read the English words of Psalm 96, you'll find them at the top of page 132. We're going to sing the first two lines of the Hebrew in reverse order of the lines because that's how this particular songwriter interpreted these two particular lines. Shiru Adonai kol haaretz, Shiru Adonai shir chadash, Shiru shiru Ladonai, Shiru shiru Ladonai. Sing unto God all the earth a new song. I will sing unto God a new song. Sing unto God and we'll all sing along. All the earth a new song unto God. Shiru Adonai kol haaretz, Shiru Adonai shir chadash. Psalm 97, the bottom of page 132. 4 lines from the bottom in the Hebrew, 4 lines from the English at the top of 133, if you want to see the English words. Or Zarua Lat Tzaddik Ol Yishrei Lev Simcha from Psalm 97. Light is sown for the righteous and radiance for the upright. If we are righteous people, God will reward us with light. If we are good-hearted people, as they translate it here, being people who are upright, we will have happiness as well. Or Zarua Lat Tzaddik Uyishrelev simcha. Or zarua latzadik. Uyishrelev simcha. Or zarua latzadik. Uyishrelev simcha. Uyishrelev simcha. Or zarua latzadik. Uyishrelev simcha. Uyishrelev simcha. Lai 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 lai. Or zarua latzadik uyishrelev simcha. Or zarua latzadik uyishrelev simcha. From Psalm 98, we'll read together in the English at the bottom of page 133. A song. Sing to Adonai a new song, for God has worked wonders. God's right hand, God's holy arm has won God victory. Adonai has manifested God's victory, has displayed God's triumph in the sight of the nations. God was mindful of God's steadfast love and faithfulness toward the house of Israel. All the ends of the earth beheld the victory of our God. Raise a shout to Adonai, all the earth. Break into joyous songs of praise. Page 135, another joyous psalm. Psalm 98. The last three lines of the psalm in the Hebrew say, Exalt Adonai our God. We bow down at God's holy mountain. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu, because Adonai our God is holy, and therefore we try to make ourselves holy as well. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu vehishtachavu lehar kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu vehishtachavu lehar kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu vehishtachavu lehar kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu vehishtachavu lehar kodsho. Page 136 and 137. From Psalm 29, more praises of God. If you noticed, if you're paying attention, we went to Psalm 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, and what comes after 99? 29, not 100. Why? When the rabbis about 500 years ago or so in the mystical city of Tzfat put together this section to bring us out of the weekend into Shabbat, they took psalms of praise. They had this idea, and they had this idea 500 years ago. It wasn't 2024, that we might not be ready for Shabbat because we're busy thinking about the laundry and thinking about the thing at work that's not done, thinking that you have to be nice in front of your professor when you're visiting the synagogue, whatever it might be. You have something else on your mind, and you're not in the mood for Shabbat. So they said, well, if we take these praises of God, it'll help bring us into the mood of Shabbat so that we can start the service, which will actually start the service a few pages from now. This kind of introductory warm-up, get in the mood kind of thing. Psalm 95 through 99 are all praises of God. Psalm 100 is a psalm that is about giving thanks to God. It's not praises of God, it's thanksgiving. It's actually begins with the words Mizmor LeTodah, a song of thanksgiving. I recommend when you're in November, if you're sitting around your table, if you're a religious person that reads Psalms in whatever your religion may be, Psalm 100 is a great psalm to read around your Thanksgiving table because it begins with the words, a song of thanksgiving. But the rabbis then found another psalm that was a psalm of praise. In Psalm 29, this is a praise of God's power in the universe. We'll read together on page 136 and 137, the psalm in English, and then we'll sing the last couple lines in the Hebrew. A psalm of David. Ascribe to Adonai, O divine beings. Ascribe to Adonai glory and strength. Ascribe to Adonai the glory of God's name. Bow down to Adonai, majestic in holiness. The voice of Adonai is over the waters. The God of glory thunders, Adonai over the mighty waters. The voice of Adonai is power. The voice of Adonai is majesty. The voice of Adonai breaks cedars. Adonai shatters the cedars of Lebanon. God makes Lebanon skip like a calf, Sirlon like a young wild ox. The voice of Adonai kindles flames of fire. The voice of Adonai convulses the wilderness. Adonai convulses the wilderness of Kadesh. The voice of Adonai causes hinds to calve and strips forest bare. While in God's temple all say, glory. Adonai sits enthroned at the flood. Adonai sits enthroned, sovereign forever. May Adonai grant strength to God's people. May Adonai bestow on God's people well-being. Those last two lines in the Hebrew right above, Adonai oz le'amo yitain, Adonai yivarech et amo ba'shalom. Lai, 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 lai. Adonai oz le'amo, yitain, yitain. Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom. Adonai oz le'amo, yitain, yitain. Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Page 138 and 139, Lecha Dodi. If you were counting, even if you weren't counting, there's 6 Psalms that we just said, Sunday through Friday. That would be 6 days of the week. And then the rabbis envisioned a bridge from the week to Shabbat, and then on the next page on 140, another psalm, a psalm of Shabbat. But this poem, a poem of Lecha Dodi, Come My Friend, Let Us Greet the Bride, envisions kind of a mystical concept of the Jewish people being the groom and Shabbat being the bride. And we welcome in the bride, just like we would welcome in the bride to a wedding, a most beautiful moment, welcoming in Shabbat, a most beautiful moment. This particular melody that we're going to sing for Lecha Dodi was written at a congregation called Kol HaNeshama. It's a congregation in Jerusalem. And if you happen to find yourself in Jerusalem and in the synagogue, it's the entire place sings along in beautiful harmonies, and it's a wonderful, exciting melody to welcome Shabbat. Lecha Dodi likat kala yalalai 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 ne Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likat kala yalalai 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 ne Shabbat nekabela. Verse number 1. Shamor v'zachor v'dibur echad Yishmi'anu el hamiyuchad Adonai echad Yishmo echad L'shem u'tiferet ve'letchila Lecha Dodi likat kala yalalai 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 B'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likat kala yalalai 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 B'nei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha Ki hi mekor ha'bracha Berosh mikedem nesucha Sof ma'aseh b'machsheva tefila Lecha Dodi likat kala yalalai 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 B'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likat kala yalalai 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 B'nei Shabbat nekabela. Verse number 5. Hitoreri, hitoreri, tiva orech kumi ori, uri, uri, shir Dabevi, Kivod Adonai, Alayich Nigla. Lecha dodi likrat kala, yalalai, 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 Bnei Shabbat, Nekavela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, yalalai, 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 Bnei Shabbat, Nekavela. We rise, we face toward the door as we greet the image of the Shabbat bride. Verse number 9. Bo Shalom, Ateret Bala, Gam B'Simcha Utzola, Toch Emunei Am Segula, Bo Yichala, Lecha dodi likrat kala, yalalai, 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 Bnei Shabbat, Nekavela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, yalalai, 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 Bnei Shabbat, Nekavela. Since we're all standing and we've greeted the Shabbat bride, it's our tradition here to greet each other. So we greet each other with the words Shabbat Shalom, which means a peaceful Shabbat. So turn to the people around you, wave to them, shake their hand, whatever, and wish everybody a Shabbat Shalom. For those of you online with us on templeshalom.com or on our YouTube channel, Shabbat Shalom to all of you, and welcome. Happy to have you here on this snowy Shabbat. All righty. Well, Shabbat Shalom. Welcome, everyone, to all of our Temple Shalom family and to our Pikes Peak State College students. Happy to have all of you with us here. We've greeted Shabbat, 6 psalms leading us to Lecha Dodi, that bridge to Shabbat, and now a psalm of Shabbat that was sung in ancient times in the ancient temple, and still today we sing it to welcome in Shabbat. Psalm 92 on page 140. Mizmor Shir L'Yom HaShabbat, let us sing a song of Shabbat. Tov L'Hodot L'Adonai, it is good to give thanks to God for this time of rest and this Shabbat. Mizmor Shir L'Yom HaShabbat, Tov L'Hodot L'Adonai, Ulezamer L'Shimcha Elyon, Ulezamer L'Shimcha Elyon. Mizmor Shir L'Yom HaShabbat, Tov L'Hodot L'Adonai, Ulezamer L'Shimcha Elyon, Ulezamer L'Shimcha Elyon. L'Hagid B'Boker Chastecha, Ve'emunatecha B'Leilot, Alei Asor, Ve'aleina Ve'lalei Higayon V'chidor. Mizmor Shir L'Yom HaShabbat, Tov L'Hodot L'Adonai, Ulezamer L'Shimcha Elyon, Ulezamer L'Shimcha Elyon. Ki simachtani Adonai b'fo'olecha, b'ma'asei yadecha arani. Ma gadlu ma'asecha Adonai me'od, amku machshevotecha. Mizmor Shir L'Yom HaShabbat, Tov L'Hodot L'Adonai, Ulezamer L'Shimcha Elyon, Ulezamer L'Shimcha Elyon. Mizmor Shir L'Yom HaShabbat, Tov L'Hodot L'Adonai, Ulezamer L'Shimcha Elyon, Ulezamer L'Shimcha Elyon, Ulezamer L'Shimcha Elyon, Ulezamer L'Shimcha Elyon. We'll read together the end of Psalm 92. It's the indented paragraph in the English at the bottom of page 140. The righteous bloom like a date palm. They thrive like a cedar in Lebanon. Planted in the house of Adonai, they flourish in the courts of our God. In old age, they still produce fruit. They are full of sap and freshness, attesting that Adonai is upright, my rock, in whom there is no wrong. We continue as we turn to page 144. Which is where our service actually begins. We've finished our time of bringing ourselves into the mood of Shabbat. We begin with Chatzi Kaddish. All of the words, by the way, for our students, all the words you see on this page, none of them are in Hebrew. They're all in Aramaic, which is similar to Hebrew. But these are words of praises of God that we use to divide between the different sections of the service. Yitkadav v'yitkadash shemei rabbah v'amad yivrach gerutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael ba'agala uv'izman kari v'meru amen Yehei shmei rabbah mevarach ve'alam ulame almaya Yitbarach, Vishtabach, Vipa'ar, Vitaram, Vinase, Vitadar, Vitale, Vitalal, Shemi, Dukudisha, Barichu, Leila, Min Koberchata, Vishirata, Tush, Vichata, Vinechemata, Dahamir on Be'alma, Vimeru, Amen. We rise, page 146, for Baruch Hu, our prayer that is our invitation for the community to join together in prayer. Lai la lai 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 la lai 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 la lai 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 la lai 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 la lai 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 Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach Baruch Adonai HaMevorach HaMevorach Le'olam va'ed HaMevorach HaMevorach Le'olam va'ed. We can be seated. Page 148. We give thanks for creation. We'll read together in English at the bottom of the page, and then we'll sing the last portion of the prayer in Hebrew. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzvaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on the evening. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim. Bechokma poteach sha'arim, ubetvuna mishane itim, umachalif et hazmanim, ומסדר את הכוכבים, B'mishmerotehem barakia kitzono. The last three lines. El chai v'kayam tamid yimloch aleinu le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Hama'ari Aravim. Lai 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 Page 151. Wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol, all these things your Torah gives to us. And the more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives. What could be a truer token of your abiding love than this holiest of your works and the living language that gives it form? Baruch atah Adonai Ohev Amo Yisrael. We give thanks for the gift of the Torah. We sing the words of our prayer of thanks for Torah and its lessons. Page 150. Ahavat Olam Beit Yisrael Amcha Ahavta Amcha Ahavta Torah u'mitzvot Hukim u'mishpatim Otanu limadita Otanu limadita Al kein Adonai Eloheinu b'shochvenu V'tkumeinu nasiach v'chukecha V'nismach b'divrei Toratecha U'b'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed Ki chayenu ve'orech yameinu Uvahem nehege yomam ve'layla Nehege yomam ve'layla Le'ahavatcha al tasir Mimenu le'olamim Baruch atah Adonai Ohev Amo Yisrael Ohev Amo Yisrael. Page 152 and 153. We come to words that are taught to us in the book of Deuteronomy, the Shema, which speaks of the unity, the divinity, and the oneness of God. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. 154. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha V'chol levavcha u'kol nafshecha u'v'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'beitecha uv'lechtecha v'aderech uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha ukshartam le'od al yadecha v'hayu letotafot bein einecha uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvihisharecha leman tiskeruhu v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'yitem kedoshim le'lechem Ani Adonai Elohechem, Asher Hotzeiti Etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim, Liot lachem Elohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem, Adonai Elohechem Emet. On page 155, we'll read not an exact translation, but a poetic rendition of the words that we just chanted in Hebrew. We'll read together. Love your God with every heartbeat, with every breath, with every conscious act. Keep in mind the words I command you today. Teach them to your children. Talk about them at work, whether you are tired or you are rested. Let them guide the work of your hands. Keep them in the forefront of your vision. Do not leave them at the doorway of your house or outside your gate. They are reminders to do all of my mitzvot, so that you can be holy for God. I am Adonai, your God. I led you out of Egypt to become your God. I am Adonai, your God. As we turn the page to page 157, we come to our section of Geula that gives thanks for our redemption from Egypt, using Egypt as a physical place that our ancestors left thousands of years ago, but also as a metaphor for the narrow places that we sometimes find ourselves in our lives. And we give thanks for God bringing us out of those narrow places. We'll read responsively in the English at the bottom of page 157. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. The high heavens declare your glory. The earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way. By prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. And as we turn to page 158, we sing the words that our ancestors sang. And while we don't know the melody that they used because it wasn't recorded, in modern times we've written our own joyous melodies of making our way through the sea, singing this song just as Moses and the Israelites did. Mi chamocha ba'ilim Adonai, who is like you, O God. Mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, who is like you, majestic in your holiness and awesome in your splendor. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha ne'edar b'kodesh, Norah tehilot osefele, Norah tehilot osefele. Malachutecha ra'u banecha, okei hayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, Ze Eli anu ve'amru, Ze Eli anu ve'amru, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. Ya lai lai la lai la 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 la, ya lai lai la lai la 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 la, ya lai la lai 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 la la la, ya lai lai la 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 la. V'ne'emar ki fada Adonai et Yaakov u'go'alo miyad chazak mimenu Baruch atah Adonai Go'al Yisrael. Each night we ask God to lie us down in peace and cause us to rise again to life tomorrow, to protect us through the night, and as we sleep, keep enemy and illness and war and famine and sorrow away from us, and spread over us a shelter of God's peace. 3 lines down in this prayer on page 160. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, spread over us a shelter of your peace. All right, All of our students here, we're going to give you guys a challenge. Ready? You're going to sing in Hebrew tonight. Did you guys know you were going to sing in Hebrew when you came here? Did you have any idea? All you need are 4 words. It's the 3rd line of the Hebrew on page 60. Repeat them after me. Ufros, Aleinu, Sukkot, Shlomecha. It means spread over us a shelter of your peace. Ufros, Aleinu, Sukkot, Sukkot, Shlomecha. That's the whole thing. Ufros aleinu, aleinu, Sukkot, 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 Shlomecha, Shlomecha. We'll sing that one more time. Ufros aleinu, Sukkot, Sukkot, Shlomecha. Now here's the hard words. Yalai, lai, lai, yalai, lai, lai, yalai, lai, 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 yalai, lai, lai, yalai, lai, lai, yalai, lai, 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 Ufros aleinu, Sukkot, Sukkot, Shlomecha. Not too bad for your first time. Pretty good. We turn to page 162. Just a few weeks ago, we read in the Torah in our weekly readings of Moses coming down the mountain to speak to the Israelites. And as he did, he reminded them of the importance of Shabbat, saying these words, the people of Israel, 162 in your book. The people of Israel shall keep Shabbat, observing Shabbat throughout the ages as a covenant for all time. It is a sign for all time between me and the people of Israel, God said. For in 6 days Adonai made heaven and the earth, and on the 7th day God ceased from the work and was refreshed. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam berit olam. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam berit olam. V'nilvein b'nei Yisrael od ki le'olam, od ki le'olam. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam berit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et ha-shamayim ve'et ha'aretz. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam berit olam. U'v'yom hashvi'i Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam berit olam. As we turn to page 164, in a moment we'll stand up, but before we do, this next section of our service is called, as it says on 164, tefillah, ha-tefillah, which means the prayer. If it's the prayer, that should tell you the importance of the prayer. It's central to the service. It's also called amidah because we stand up for the prayer. And it's also called Shmona Esrei, which means 18. At one point in time, there were 18 blessings in the prayer. On Shabbat, we make it into 7 because 7 is a good number for Shabbat. It begins with 3 paragraphs praising God, a middle section of prayers for Shabbat, and then 3 prayers at the very end giving thanks to God. The way we traditionally say this prayer here on a Friday evening is we'll say this little meditation on page 164. Then we'll turn to page 166. We're going to be chanting in Hebrew on the even-numbered pages. On all of the odd-numbered pages are poetic renditions, not translations, but poetic renditions on the theme of what's on the even-numbered pages. We're going to chant together through page 170, or 171 if you're reading the poetic renditions. Then we're going to take time for our own silent prayer, which goes through 180 or 181, depending on which side you're reading. You can use that time for reading all of the prayers that are on the pages, or for reading the words that are on your heart and your own soul, your own mind. This is a time we begin with community prayer, and then we finish with a time for your own individual conversations with God. And so if the words that you find, the traditional words on the even pages, the poetic words on the odd pages, if they speak to you, you can read them, or you can find your own words, your own conversation with God. But we begin together as we rise. We join in the meditation, the Zimun, page 164. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. 166. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor V'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim V'Konei HaKol V'Zocher Chasdei Avot V'Imahot U'Mevig Ula Livnei B'Neihem L'man Shemo Be'ahava Melech Ozer Moshiach U'Magin Baruch Atah Adonai Magin Avraham Ve'ezrat Sarah 168 Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai V'Chayei HaKol Atah Orav Le'Hoshia Mashiv HaRuach U'Morid Haga Hashem Mechalkel Chaim Bechesed Mechayei HaKol Berachamim Rabim Somech Noflim Verofei Cholim Umatir Asurim Umekayem Emunato Lishenei Afar Michamocha Ba'al Gevurot Umido Melach Melech Meimit Umechayei Umatzmiach Yeshua V'ne'aman Atah Lachayot HaKol Baruch Atah Adonai V'chayei HaKol 170 Atah Kadosh V'Shimcha Kadosh U'Kadoshim B'chol Yom Yehalelucha Selah Baruch Atah Adonai Ha'el HaKadosh. We continue silently through 180, 181, or with the prayers in your own heart and your own soul. When you finish with your own silent prayer, your own conversation with God, please be seated and we'll join back together then. Page 178. A prayer for peace. Shalom Raha al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Raha al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Raha al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Raha al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov be'einecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael bechol heit uvechol sha'a bishlomecha. Shalom Raha al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Raha al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. We take a moment to think of those who are in need of healing, physical healing, spiritual healing, psychological and emotional healing. We ask God to bring refuah shlema, complete healing, to Gnendel Batsima, Fran Hart, Aharon ben Abraham Basara, Stanley Sachs, Malka Batsara, Lisa Lead, Merle Haber, Shoshana Batilana, Baral Yaakov ben Abraham Shalom, Lynn Severson, Susan Schenk, Reuven ben Shlomo Mordechai Tzipora, Rachel Howell, Trudy Ishwitz-Brodsky, David Zimmerman, Kathy Twerdock, Jeannie Tischler, Bob Lead, Cheryl Ness, and Sue Mullen. We have any other names that anybody has? Anybody that you'd like to say a blessing for healing for them? Anybody on this side? Or anyone over here? A name that you'd like to have for healing? Thank you. For all those that we've named and for all those in need of healing, in the middle of page 371, 371, you find the words of the Misha Berach for healing prayer as we ask God to bring each and every one that we've named and all of those in need. Refuah shlema min hashamayim, complete healing from the heavens. Misha Berach Avoteinu Mikor Habracha Leimoteinu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishe Berach Imoteinu Mikor Habracha Le'avoteinu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. This week, in our Torah portion, we read from Parashat Pekudei. For those who might not be familiar with the weekly Torah readings, each week we read one section of the Torah. The Torah is divided up into 54 portions, and each week of the year we have a lunar calendar. That's why it doesn't add up to 52. Each week of the year we read through one section of the Torah, and this week we come to a section called Pekudei. It is the very end of the book of Exodus, and it's redundant. Because a lot of what we read in this week's Torah portion, we read last week's Torah portion too. Because Moses came down the mountain, he was up on the mountain for a while, he got these instructions of how to build this tent in the middle of the desert. And there were instructions about the exact measurements of all of the various materials, of the gold and of the silver and of the copper and of the fine linen that was made from a variety of different colors of probably shades of a blue and a crimson and a purple. We don't know the exact translations of the names of the colors. And then we got the garments that the high priest and the rest of the Kohanim that the priests would wear, and of the decorations and adornments of those garments, and this beautiful breastplate with stones representing each of the tribes, and with a beautiful headdress, and all of the things that would be needed inside of the tent so that they could do the sacrifices, the altar for the animal sacrifices, and the altar for the sacrifices of the aromatic incense. All of the tools that would be needed to light the menorah, the candelabra, all of the tools that would be needed to take out the excess ashes, and all of the things that would be needed, very exact measurements and very exact descriptions of each thing. We read that last week, and then we get almost all of it again this week. Last week were the instructions, and this week is actually doing it, and we have Bezalel and Oholiab, who are the two great artisans who are going to put all these things together. And we find that Bezalel and Oholiab, they are artisans, and they're good with metalwork, and they're good with woodwork, and they're good with crafts with gems, and they're also good with construction and putting the tent together, and they're good with materials like the linen and the yarn that would be put together. They were good with everything in terms of the crafts. And the people willingly brought all of the materials that were going to be needed, that they brought out of Egypt, and they built the tent to these exact specifications. And we get the specifications again because we need to know that it's done exactly. Because we're taught that if we build the Mishkan, this tent in the desert, to its exact specifications, then God will find it a place worthy of dwelling among us. If we read last week, it was just a chapter before. I mean, it's not like there's so much in between, but just the chapter before, we read about all these instructions, and we get told the instructions again to make sure that we get it right. It's why, as kids, we don't take math in first grade and then never take it again. Because as we learn more skills, we get better. And if we get the instructions to build a tent in the desert, we get better. And the idea is that if we perfect the way in which we build the tent of meeting, that there's more of a chance that God will dwell among us. And we know that the people helped Bezalel, appointed by Moses, and Oholiab, these two great artisans. Even though they may not have been great artisans, it wasn't their work to be doing metal work and cutting gems and tying knots and cutting the wood to build the tent and having the sides of the tent built out of all the materials. Even though it wasn't what their skill set was, they still came to help in any way because they could broaden their horizons by enhancing their skills. It might be that some of our students here are here tonight. I'm just going to take a guess that most of you are not religion majors, but you're taking a class about religion. And someone might ask, if you're a math major, why would you bother to take a class about religion? Or if you're a chemistry major, why would you bother to take a class about religion? Or the other way, if you're a religion major, why would you bother to take a class in algebra? And the answer is because the more we broaden our horizons, the more we enhance our knowledge, the better dwelling place that we build among ourselves. God gave the instructions to Moses, and then they were repeated as the tent was built, so that the people could learn more about the place that they together were building. Because it wasn't just Moses that was building the tent, it was the community that was building the tent. It wasn't just Bezalel and Oholiab who had some talent to help. Surely they were the most talented of the artisans, but everybody had some talent to offer. Everybody offered some of their gold or their silver or their blue or crimson or purple yarn or their linen or their acacia wood, all of the ingredients that were needed to put together the tent in the desert. But it wasn't just that they donated a little bit of an item, just like it's not good enough that we might see a charity cause and say, I'm going to donate a few dollars and I'm done. Because each and every one of them in the desert helped to build the Mishkan, to build the tent. They gave financially, and they also gave of their time and of their efforts and of their talents and of their abilities. We hear a repetition because we're told in the Torah, we actually read these words a little earlier in our service when we chanted, Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, you will love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your being. Take these words, it's translated in here, I think they translated as teach them diligently to your children. If we translated it into the real translation, it sounds bad in English because it's a bad word in English, or most people think it is. It says, indoctrinate your children with these words. And indoctrinate in English is a negative word. But in Hebrew, indoctrinate is not a negative word. It actually means to learn through repetition, which is the best way to learn. You learn through repetition. We said the ABCs over and over again as little children, so we would learn them. Our teachers made us write, first in block printing and then in cursive, over and over again, so we would learn it. It's through the repetition of hearing that we learn the things that we need to know to build the world around us. And so Moses, with the help of Bezalel and Oholiab, the two artisans, and the help of all the Israelites, built a place, a mishkan. It's the Hebrew word for the tent in the desert that the Israelites built. But the root of the word mishkan, it means a dwelling place. They were building a dwelling place for God. Our job today, I don't know about any of you, I have no intentions of building a tent for God in the middle of the desert. I've got better things to do with my time than building a tent in the middle of the desert for God. Well, better things to do with my time than literally building a tent in the desert for God. But spiritually, that's the tent in the desert that I want to build for God. Because we wander through our own deserts. Our deserts where we find people who are different than we are, and they're looked down upon, whether it's because of their gender or their age or the color of their skin or what letters they have before or after their name or what street they live on or what kind of clothing they wear or how much money they have in their bank account. And we live in this desert because it's dried up from the love that should be there. Instead, we have the dryness of hatred. And if we build our tent, our spiritual tent, to the exact specifications that God wants us to build it, and we don't just hire someone to do it or throw a few dollars toward that charity, but every one of us gives a little bit of money and a little bit of time and a little bit of effort and a little bit of our soul and maybe a lot more of our love. We take the desert around us and we build a mishkan, a place where God will dwell among us. And we're not building a physical structure anymore. They did that in ancient times. Today, we build a spiritual tent, a spiritual place where God can dwell with us. We send love in God's direction. God sends love in our direction. And we send it to each other. And if we do, we take the light of the Torah, the light of its lessons, and shine it out of our hearts toward everyone. May it be our blessing to find that light and build that place for God to dwell among us. Among us in the Jewish community here at Temple Shalom. Among every community of every religion, of every race, of every nation, of every gender, of every person who lives on the earth. May God dwell among all of us because we build a world that is worthy of God dwelling with us. Amen. Come to the closing prayers of our service. We're going to turn to page 586 as we'll rise. And the bottom paragraph of page 586, and then turning on to the next even numbered page there, we say this prayer of Aleinu, that God places it upon us to live these words, these lessons of God's Torah. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'teit gedula liotzer bereshit, shelo asanu kogoyei ha'aratzot, velo samanu k'mishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahen, v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam, va'anachnu korim, umishtachavim umodim, lifnei melech malchei hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Shehu Noteh Shamayim ve'yoser haaretz, u'moshav yitkaro b'shamayim ima'ah, u'shchinatu zo, v'govhei meheromim, Hu Eloheinu einod, emet malkeinu efes ulato, kakatuv b'torato, yadata hayom v'hashivota elevavecha, ki Adonai hua Elohim, b'shamayim mima'al, ve'al ha'aretz, mitachat einod, the middle of page 590. Ki ha'malchut shelcha hi olamet yimloch b'chavod, kakatuv b'toratecha, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. V'ne'emar v'ya Adonai lemelech al kol ha'aretz v'yom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad u'shemo echad. You all can be seated. We turn to page 598. So we come to our yard sites, a time where we remember the anniversary of the death of our loved ones and our community members. This week we recall the anniversaries of the yard sites of Ellen McIntosh, Joe Gordon, Robert Zaza, Francis Borshon, Maxine Weiner, Robert Lewis, Bob Rackless, Maury Morrison, Stan Warhoff, and Alexander Kaplan. Any yard sites that anyone else is observing? Yehiyu zichronam levracha. May their memories be an eternal blessing. We ask mourners to rise, and those who have the custom of standing with them, as we say the Mourner's Kaddish, page 598. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah. Belma divra chirute v'yamlich malchute. V'chayechon u'vyomechon u'v'chayed kol beit Yisrael. Ba'agala v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehe shmei rabbah mevorach le'olam omei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shmei du'kudusha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Da'amiran be'alma v'yimru amen. Yehe shalama rabba min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom b'mrama. Huya aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. We can all be seated. Maggie, do you have announcements? A few announcements of things. things coming up in the near future here at Temple Shalom for all of our members to know what's going on in the not too distant future.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. It's good to see
Shabbat
you.
Shalom.
And I wanted to start by going in opposite direction. Normally we end with thank you for providing the oneg for tonight. There is an oneg in the back. It's refreshments that we have after service. And this particular oneg is in support, love, and admiration for AJ, Jesse, and Lisa on the occasion of their birthdays. So I just wanted to throw that in there. So Lisa, if I wasn't okay to say that, they don't know which one, to be honest.
She's not here right now. So.
She's not here to defend herself, so. All right, so now
all of this talking back and forth, Lisa's my wife. That's who she's talking about right now. So there you today. Yeah. Yeah. It's been a red letter day for lots of people this week. So, there we go.
So let's say, moving forward. So this Sunday, March 17th from 9 to noon, the Men's and Women's Club will have davening at 9, breakfast at 9:30, and the Israel Experience with Alan Davidson, Judy Oppenheim, and Ivan Sador, presenting on their experience providing support and assistance in Israel following the Hamas attack on October 7th. Ms. Renee Rockford, President and CEO of Jewish Colorado, will be on hand as well to provide some background on these missions and on Jewish Colorado itself. Register online at templeshalom.com. It will remain open over the weekend for the presentation. If you are interested, I highly recommend signing up. You do not have to be a member to attend. We are also on Sunday having the deadline for the PTO's fundraiser for Mishlot Manot this year for Purim. So get in the orders as soon as physically possible. If you have any questions, there's a frequently asked section to the online form to see how things have changed. You can always call Eden, or a little late to call the office, but you can always call on Monday. If nothing else, it'll give Lise something to do. Friday, March 22nd at 5:30 is Fourth Friday Shabbat dinner and Beatles Shabbat with our Beatles Battle Oneg. If you have not had the experience, I highly recommend. Saturday, March 23rd at 6 p.m. is the Purim celebration with pasta bar dinner, Megillah reading, and Havdalah. It starts at 6 p.m. And then Sunday, the 24th, is the costume contest during religious school and the Purim carnival for every member of the family from noon to 2. There will be games, face painting by me, make your own mask station, and more. Register at templeshalom.com. If you have not experienced Purim, this is a costume event. So I heavily recommend, if you choose to attend, being in outrageous and wild costumes, family friendly, of course. When you throw down the gauntlet, you got to put some parameters on that thing. We have a volunteer opportunity Tuesday, April 23rd. It is a second Seder of Passover. We're looking for volunteers to help cook, serve, set up, clean up, etc. Please contact the office and stay tuned for more details for the fun part of noshing. Sunday, May 5th is Mitzvah Day. The Mitzvah Planning Committee has still obtaining mitzvah opportunities. Right now, we are doing Cinco de Mayo Mitzvah Day Food Drive. There's a flyer in the foyer. You can register for donating blood with Vitalent online and donate your blood in person May 1st through 8th. There's a flyer in the foyer. And stay tuned for announcements. If you are one of those people that always forget this, that would be me. Don't forget to scan receipts through Box Tops for Education. That actually provides the shul with money specifically, usually for the religious school, and it takes seconds. If you don't know how to do it, you just download the app, take a picture of the receipt, and if you have questions, you can ask Roseanne Fehrenbrock, because she knows, and she will definitely educate you accordingly. It's true. We do have the increased expense of security staff. If you feel the need to donate, please do so at templeshalom.com. If you have any members that are ill, hospitalized, suffering a loss, please contact the office. This is an opportunity for us to reach out support members of our community that may need just a little extra something, especially during this time. Thank you so much for attending. We appreciate your presence. Shabbat Shalom.
And I don't think we had any announcements there, but newly added to the calendar, for those of you who have kids in a religious school or interested in the future of the religious school at Temple Shalom, there will be a meeting Monday evening at 6:30 p.m. Regarding plans for the future growth of our religious school here at the Temple. Page 647, near the bottom of the page, we'll end with a prayer for peace. It says, "O say Shalom." It's the next to the last song on page 647. And afterwards, we'll make a little kiddush and motzi, blessing over the wine, the bread in the back, and a little snacks at our Oneg Shabbat. And for our PPSC students, if you want to hang out and ask questions and chat, we'll give you a few minutes to eat something. You're in a Jewish place. You have to eat. Sugar, cookies, all of that. There's lots of stuff. But afterwards, we'll give you a few minutes to eat. And then for those of you who want to hang out and ask questions and learn a little more, we'll meet right up here in the front here, and we'll chat for a little ways. We'll end our service with O Say Shalom, second song up at the bottom, page 647. O say Shalom b'mromav, Hu yaseh Shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. O say Shalom b'mromav, Hu yaseh Shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Yaseh Shalom, Shalom aleinu al kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Shalom aleinu al kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Amen. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. For those of you online with us on templeshalom.com and our YouTube channel, we'll say good night to all of you. We'll see you in the morning. And for the rest of us, please join us in the back for Kiddush and Motzi. Shabbat Shalom.